This is a free video. If you have paid to watch this video, then you have been scammed and you should ask for a refund. You can watch this video and more totally for free on my Yoku channel at i.yoku.com/elite English training. Thanks for watching. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this fifth video in a series looking at the TOEFL reading section. In this particular video we're going to be looking at the sentence level questions. As we saw before on the previous videos, there are 10 question types. In this particular video we're going to be focusing in on simplifying the meaning of sentences and inserting sentences into a passage. Before we begin, please make sure that you have skimmed through the entire reading passage before continuing with this tutorial. There is a link to the quick prep download that is provided by ETS. We'll be using text from that reading material in this video, so please just take a few minutes, go to the website, follow the link, go to the website, download the PDF, and then come straight back to us. Question type 7 is simplifying a sentence. This is going to involve using easier words, but not necessarily fewer words. We need to be looking at reducing the amount of punctuation, and we need to be able to give the essential idea of the sentence. This entails cutting out unnecessary words without changing the basic idea, and we need to have a look at the idea that some answer choices may only contain a partial idea. We need also to be able to summarize a passage without focusing on specific information too much. So in a lot of other questions, a lot of other English tests that you might have done will require you to be listening out for specific information. In this particular exercise, in this particular question type, that is not a priority. We need to be able to summarize but not focus too much on any specifics and make things overly complicated in our answer. In terms of identifying the question, it's pretty simple. You'll see language along the lines of which sentence best expresses the idea in the highlighted sentence from paragraph, and then whichever paragraph the text is taken from. Or like similar questions, we are not provided with an official example from ETS. So we've actually provided here a sample question so that we can actually show you how this kind of thing would work, how we would approach simplifying a sentence and inserting a sentence into a passage. But we don't have any official material from ETS. The first idea that we need to look at is cohesion. Now, this is how content fits together. It usually involves clarifying, restating, or expanding on information before or after it. Cohesion can be achieved by using synonyms, synonymous language, reference words, or signal words. A lot of these things, a lot of these ideas we've covered in previous videos, so if you don't know what synonyms are, if you don't know what signal words are, please go back and watch those videos. Look at the TOEFL prep videos, look at the TOEIC prep videos that I've uploaded to the website. Make sure that you know what these are. We're gonna glimpse at these. We're gonna kind of glance over them, but we're not going to go into too much detail when it comes to things like synonyms and reference words and signal words. If we have a look at paragraph 6, you'll see there's quite a lot of information here. We're going to go through it, highlight the information, highlight the reference words, highlight the signal words, highlight the reference. Highlight any synonymous language so that we'll be able to solve the question. Hopefully it'll give you some idea of how to solve it. So let's have a look at the paragraph first of all. This is paragraph 6. The picture of Teotihuacan that emerges is a classic picture of positive feedback among obsidian mining, working, trade, population growth, irrigation, and religious tourism. The thriving obsidian operation, for example, would necessitate more miners, additional manufacturers of obsidian tools, and additional traders to carry the goods to new markets. All this led to increased wealth, which in turn would attract more immigrants to Teotihuacan. The growing power of the elite, who control the economy, would give them the means to physically coerce people to move to Teotihuacan and serve as additions to the labor force. More irrigation works would have to be built to feed the growing population, and this resulted in more power and wealth for the elite. So we need to have a look first of all at this first section here. Some synonymous language that we can look at has been highlighted here on the text. So obsidian, mining and working. Mining and working are pretty much the same thing. If we know that the key industry in Teotihuacan was mining, then we can also assume that most people were working as miners. So this is a good example of synonymous language being used here. The thriving obsidian operation, for example. Now, the thriving obsidian operation, this is a reference. This is referencing back to the previous idea that obsidian mining, obsidian working, and obsidian operations, they're all involving mining obsidian in some way, or they're all involved in the working, the work that the miners are doing. And then we have this signal word, for example. So we have the thriving obsidian operation, and then for example, which shows us obviously that this is just one example that they're going to pick out. If we're looking further on into the text, we have another signal phrase, all this led to increase wealth. So all this led is the reference phrase that is gathering together the list that was given in the previous sentence. So all this led is essentially now a shorthand for the thriving obsidian operation, additional manufacturers of obsidian tools, additional traders to carry the goods to the new markets. All of that is just being summed up in 3 words. The next section you can see highlighted in yellow. These are synonymous phrases. We have attract more immigrants, people to move, additions to the labor force, and growing population. So we don't just say more immigrants, more immigrants, more immigrants. We have immigrants, people, labor force, and growing population. All of these phrases after the first one, after attract more immigrants, these additional 3 phrases are synonymous. Moving people, people being added to the labor force, and a growing population. These are all synonymous with the idea of immigration. So cohesion. The TOEFL is testing your ability to understand how vocabulary can contribute to effective reading skills. And in these sentence level questions, you'll have to see how information fits together. There are some tricks that we'll look at and how to spot them and how to deal with them. And there are 2 key ideas that I want you to keep in mind. The appropriate order of information and choosing the answer choice that has essentially the same idea. So let's move on and have a look at a typical example question. I must stress that this has not come from the reading material or any of the quick prep download material from ETS. It's just an example. So, well, let's take a look. The growing power of the elite who control the economy would give them the means to physically coerce people to move to Teotihuacan and serve as additions to the labor force. The question is, which of the following answer choices best expresses the idea of the highlighted sentence from paragraph 6? A. The immigrant laborers were necessary in the expansion of Teotihuacan. B. The elite of Teotihuacan physically punished immigrants when they tried to leave the city. C. Because of their increasing economic strength, the leaders of the community were able to forcibly move immigrants to come to work in Teotihuacan. Or D. Immigrants, who became the most powerful group in Teotihuacan, were able to gain control of the highest levels in society. So, first of all, let's have a look at this sentence in the context of the paragraph. You can see the highlighted sections at the bottom now. We have this idea that all of these ideas that are listed in the first half of the paragraph led to increased wealth. Then we have this idea of growing power of the elite who control the economy. This is a relative clause, so we have quite a complex piece of information here. The growing power of the elite, who then in turn control the economy, would give them the means to physically coerce people to Teotihuacan and serve as additions to the labour force. If we scan down to the end of the last sentence, this resulted in more power and more wealth for the elite. So this is the key things that we need to take away from this bottom half of the paragraph, including the key information that's around the sentence that we've been asked to simplify. In terms of confusing distractors, some of the pitfalls that you try to avoid are using some of the same big words as in the highlighted passage. Sometimes the answers will add more words or ideas to a passage. Other answers will misrepresent information in the passage. Some answers might simplify too much, and some answers might change the word order for no real reason. So when we're talking about this idea of paraphrasing, when we're talking about this idea of putting things into your own words, this is what this part of the test is actually focusing on. Now you can't misrepresent information, you can't simplify too much, and you can't change the word order for any sound reason that anybody can see. So when you're looking at the answer choices that you've been given in this question, then you need to be able to identify what they're doing. Are they doing something that's superficial, or are they actually putting some effort in to restate the information that you read in the paragraph? What you need to be looking for in the right answer is you need to be looking to find an answer that follows the same basic order as the highlighted sentence. The correct answer will also include synonyms, but it won't include repeated information. And a correct answer will also include all of the basic ideas, but never remove any information. So let's take a closer look at this. We'll go through the answer choices in a little bit more detail. So we need to be looking for the answer choice that best expresses the idea of the highlighted sentence from paragraph 6. The sentence is there in green on the screen. Let's have a look at A. The immigrant labourers were necessary in the expansion of Teotihuacan. Now we have this idea. The sentence will carry this idea. A growing power of the elite, control of the economy, physically coerce people to move to Teotihuacan. And these people would be additions to the labour force. Now, while we've got this idea that a growing labour force is almost synonymous with an expansion of a city, we don't actually have any information that can support this choice. We don't have it. Remember that we're looking for evidence. We need to be able to disprove 3 choices and then be left with one choice, which is the guaranteed correct answer. Now, the word necessary, we'd be looking for synonyms that would be similar to this: need, require, words like this. But we just don't see anything in there. We get this idea mainly that people were being coerced, they were being forced against their will to move to Teotihuacan, just to create more money for the people that were in charge, the powerful elite, who, it says right here, control the economy. So we need to kind of think about this, how the information connects up in this answer step, in this particular answer choice. B. The elite of Teotihuacan physically punished immigrants when they tried to leave the city. With this particular answer, we have this misrepresented piece of information leaving the city. They were coercing people to move to Teotihuacan, and then they wanted them to be added to the labor force. They didn't want people to go, obviously, but there's no actual evidence that the powerful elite of Teotihuacan physically punished anybody, and there's no mention of anybody trying to leave the city. Option C. Because of their increasing economic strength, the leaders of the community were able to forcibly move immigrants to come to work in Teotihuacan. Now, we have this word physically, which is the adverbial form of physical, and we have this word in the answer choice, which is forcibly, which is the adverbial form of force. Both of these words are synonymous with a physical action. And we have this repeated word, move immigrants, talking about coercing people to move. And then if we talk about forcibly moving immigrants, there's quite a lot of information, there's quite a lot of evidence already that this is a strong contender for the correct answer. Moving on through to the sentence, forcibly move immigrants to come to work in Teotihuacan. Now then we have this and, so we have this physically coerce people to move to Teotihuacan and serve as additions to the labor force. In the answer choice we have forcibly move immigrants to come to work in Teotihuacan. Forcing people coming to work somewhere, forcing people to come to work is pretty much the same as saying people are coerced. They were physically coerced to serve as additions to the labor force. So this is a pretty strong contender for the correct answer. D. Immigrants who became the most powerful group in Teotihuacan were able to gain control of the highest levels in society. Now, while we do have this idea of the elite and the powerful elite that control the economy, there is no mention that the people that moved to Teotihuacan were actually given any opportunity to rise up through the ranks of society and gain control of the highest levels there. So there's very little evidence to actually support this particular answer choice. So we can pretty much get rid of answers B and answers D. There's no mention at all of anybody physically punishing anyone when they tried to leave the city. Also, in terms of answer D, there's no mention of anybody who was an immigrant, anybody who was physically forced to move to Teotihuacan, that they were able to actually, set up a business for themselves and rise up to become a member of the wealthy, powerful elite. So we can get rid of those two answers and just leave ourselves with answers A and C. A. We can get rid of this answer because there is just no mention of Teotihuacan expanding or any words that would give us the impression that these immigrant laborers are required or needed because the increasingly powerful elite were wanting to expand Teotihuacan. So that leaves us with our strongest contender for the right answer, option C. Because of their increasing economic strength, the leaders of the community were able to forcibly move immigrants to come to work in Teotihuacan. There's no actual expansion on any information in this answer. All it's doing is using different words to express the same idea. That's what we need to be looking at. That's what we need to be focusing on. You don't need to use your imagination. You don't need to imagine what would happen to these people. You just need to look at how is the same idea being expressed differently. Moving on to inserting a sentence. In order to solve this particular question, we need to be able to understand how signal words work and indicate how they organize information. We need to understand how reference are used and reference words are used. Now, this may be a subject that hasn't been referred to yet, or a reference word that needs an antecedent. We covered these antecedents in the previous video. It's information that is synonymous language used to represent information that has already been discussed in depth in a previous paragraph. And the final thing that we need to be able to do, we need to be able to understand how restated information can indicate how information is organized. So we need to be looking for signal words. We need to be looking at restating information for the organization, and we need to be looking at tying ideas together that have been mentioned in previous paragraphs. In terms of identifying this question type, you'll probably see language like, the following sentence is missing from the text, or the 4 letters or boxes A, B, C, D indicate where the sentence should go. So you'll see this type of language when you're looking at some of these questions. So let's have a look at question 13 from the Quick Prep download. In paragraph 1 of the passage, there is a missing sentence. The paragraph is repeated below and shows 4 letters A, B, C, D that indicate where the following sentence should be added. So if you look through the paragraph, you'll see A, it had over 2,000 apartment complexes. B, clearly much planning and central control were involved. C, moreover. And D is the last one there. So you need to be looking at where the sentence that is underneath the question prompt, where is the best place to put that sentence? Where is the best place to put this sentence? In fact, artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan have been discovered in sites as far away as the Mayan lowlands, the Guatemalan highlands, northern Mexico, and the Gulf Coast of Mexico. Which leads us on to our TOEFL tactic. You need to pay attention to the beginning and the ending of sentences. If you look at the beginning and end of the inserted sentence, you will often see how it fits into the paragraph. For example, if information at the beginning doesn't fit at the end of B or D, then it will actually fit at the end of A. If the information at the end doesn't fit at the end of A or C, or any answers through A to C, then it will actually fit at the end of D. But you need to be careful of restated information. So let's have a look at this sentence in a little bit more detail. In fact, artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan have been discovered in sites as far away as the Mayan lowlands, the Guatemalan highlands, northern Mexico, and the Gulf Coast of Mexico. We need to be looking at this signal word in fact. So, and then we have another list. So we're looking for some kind of a list connection that will tie these the second half of this information to the first half of its information. Now, keeping in mind that the TOEFL loves to restate information, they love to make sure that you understand how information can be restated in a more interesting way, or how we can reinforce an idea by mentioning it twice but not using the same language. So if we have a look at these choices that we've got here, we can actually choose A, B or C, which are all consecutive sentences. So you need to have a look at how topics run together, and if a certain topic in a sentence is going to look out of place in between two others. So we can see here A, B or C pretty much run on after each other, or we can even choose D, which is the end of the sentence, end of the paragraph completely. So what we need to look at when we're talking about restating information, we have this idea here in the last sentence. Moreover, the city had economic and perhaps religious contacts with most part of Mesoamerica, modern Central America and Mexico. If we have a look at the sentence that we've been asked to place, we have this idea of artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan, and then lists in more detail the parts of Mesoamerica that these artifacts and pottery have been found in: Mayan lowlands, Guatemalan highlands, northern Mexico, and the Gulf Coast of Mexico. So I think that with these two synonymous pieces of information, specifically the mention of most parts of Mesoamerica and then specific areas in Mesoamerica, I think that we've pretty much found our answer in that the best place to put this sentence is D. Using this, in fact, to link these two ideas together in two different sentences and adding more information in the second sentence. So, some final thoughts. Question type 7 is asking you to restating information. It's not asking you to do anything, it's asking you to choose the restated essential information of a sentence, but using different words. Question type 8 is when you're asked to place a missing sentence somewhere within the specified text. Look out for ideas that can be restated in some way. This is a very common question type for question type 8. Look out for distractors that use some of the same big words but add more words to the choice. Answers that misrepresent the information, or answers that simplify too much, and answer choices that change the word order but for no apparent reason. They don't make the information list more clear, or they don't actually add anything to the information that you've already got. So thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful, and we'll be back for the 6th and final video in this series. See you then. Bye bye.